Hello everyone, and welcome back to All You Need to Know About Modes, Part 2. If you missed Part 1, you can find the link in the description or you can hit that card up there. Last video we looked at what modes are and when we use them. Today we're looking at the unique relationship guitarists have with modes and a few other advanced concepts. Alright, let's dive in. First, we're going to discuss playing modes on the guitar. Guitar is a bit of a tricky instrument because we can play the same note in multiple places, unlike say a piano where you can play a middle C in one spot. It's also not laid out nice and easy like a keyboard is. So what we can do is use the concept of modes as a system for seeing and better understanding the fretboard. Now, as a disclaimer, some people approach this differently than what I do. This is what's worked for me. If I were to play an Ionian mode starting on the lowest G, continuing until I have no notes available to me without having to change hand positions, this is what I would have. Those are the notes in the Ionian position in the key of G. If I'm soloing, I can be using those notes as the framework for my note choices. Keep in mind, this is what I refer to as the Ionian position, which doesn't mean we can't play a Dorian mode in this position. If I were to move my hand up, my index finger starting on the A, playing notes from the key of G, I'm now in the Dorian position. And these are the notes that are available in the key of G in this hand position. I can keep doing this all the way up the guitar neck until I'm back in the Ionian position an octave higher, where everything will repeat itself. If you can visualize all these modes across the guitar neck, you can see which notes are available to you diatonically in the key of G. And if we're playing in a different key, all these modes will then shift over. I'm gonna offer some ways to practice this, but I would encourage you to find your own ways to absorb this information. So the first thing we wanna do is get familiar with each mode position, going up and down that position until we've got it under our fingers. Then let's try some variations. Go up 4 notes, then do the same thing 1 note higher. You can try doing it in thirds. There's countless variations on this, and you should try doing it with every mode. You also want to practice switching between the modes. What if we only played the notes on the E and A string and then shifted to the next position? Or every time you go up a string, you shift to the next mode. Again, do this in different keys, starting on different places, and try to find your own spin on these exercises. The idea is to keep working on these things until we know them like the back of our hand. You also want to make sure you're using this stuff in a musical setting, which should always be part of your practice. Once you're feeling good with a position, try some soloing. Try to incorporate some of those exercises. You get the idea. See, practicing scales and finger patterns does nothing unless we can incorporate them musically. Moving on, seeing chord tones within modes. This next step was huge for me, maybe the single biggest thing I've done for my guitar playing. It also took a very long period of time. Once we've gotten to know those mode positions inside and out, we can then go and analyze how every note can interact with every potential diatonic chord. If we have a G major 7 playing as our harmony, here's how every note of the B Phrygian, the third mode of G major, can interact with that chord. This is the third of the chord, the 11th, the 5th, the 13th, the 7th, the 1, and so on. Of course, if our chord changes to say an E minor, all those notes will react differently with that chord. My notes in B Phrygian related to an E minor would be this. This is now the 5th of the chord, the flat 13, the flat 7, the 1, the 9, the flat 3rd, and so on. There are 7 different modes and 7 different diatonic chords that can happen underneath. That's 49 different things to work on. You can see why this takes so long to master. Here's how I would work on this stuff. I would write out each mode and notate how every note related to every potential diatonic chord, like you're seeing here. That's just one example. I have documentation for all the chords and all the modes available to all my Patreons, and like I said, you can also find the link down there in the description. I would then practice the arpeggios of each chord in each position. For example, here is a G major 7 in Phrygian. And here it is in Locrian. I would also practice soloing, playing around with these modes while I said the chord tone out loud. 1 1 7 1 6 1 1 3 1 1 2 1 1 4 3 2 4 3 2 1. Stuff like that, whatever it took to get that knowledge in my brain. Trust me, it was a massive undertaking, but now when I play a song, I can highlight the chord tones or extensions, which, in my opinion, took my guitar playing to the next level. We've looked at a lot of things so far, and now I'm going to wrap this up by checking out some additional information on modes. I haven't talked at all about ear training for modes, but this is an important aspect as well. Each mode has a specific sound, and you should be able to hear this. Try singing through them, as well as using websites or software that play a mode for you to identify. On another note, up until this point, we've only looked at modes and how they pertain to a diatonic major scale. We can also derive a set of modes from both harmonic minor and melodic minor scales. They'll have different chord tones and different extensions that apply to them. For example, the fourth mode of the melodic minor scale is Lydian dominant, and it sounds like this. Same thing as a Lydian mode, but with a flat 7 instead of a natural 7, which gives us a dominant 7 chord that it's related to, or dominant 7 sharp 11. Now, in my experience, having done that prior step, learning the guitar neck and chord tones, I can use some of these altered modes without having to think too much about them. For example, if I know where the 11 is, I can raise it on a whim without necessarily having to think Lydian dominant. Ladies and gentlemen, that is everything I personally know about modes and how I use them. I've said it before, this is a massive amount of work, and it took me years to get to the point where I felt comfortable with this. The end goal here is to know this stuff so well that you don't even have to think about it. Good luck with all this stuff, and happy practicing. By supporting my videos through Patreon, you guys can help ensure a future for content like this. You can start at $1 per month, and there's a number of rewards and perks from there on up. And if you'd like a private sensei session over Skype, get at me using the email down there in the description. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Samurai Guitarist, and I'll see you again soon.